Welcome to Frame by Frame. Today we have a very fascinating guest with us, Mr. ANISH PENTY, a film illustrator who helps bring cinematic visual into life. If you've ever been mesmerized by a film's visual style, chances are an illustrator played a big role in shaping it. Welcome to Frame by Frame. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
And before we get into the depths of the interview, how did you get into the world of film illustration?
The film illustration, as in, like before getting into the film illustration, I was just an illustrator. I worked
Okay.
as an editorial illustrator and all. Film, I think after working for an Telugu magazine, it's basically a newspaper, Telugu newspaper. After that, I think I got into film illustration. But film illustration is like, it's not like a, it doesn't have like a specific job role as sorts. But yeah, something like that. From editor illustrator to film illustrator. Yeah.
Okay. Let's start with a simple question.
Yeah.
What exactly does a film illustrator do?
So it's like this. Basically, it's the same thing. The illustration is the same thing. It's basically trying to explain something which can't be explained, where it takes like a 10, 15 lines or like something or like a paragraph to explain. You just do it with a one illustration, one drawing, let's say. So it's something like, but when it comes to film illustration, let's say it's my work is mostly in the pre-production part.
Right.
Right. So director has a visual, director has something in his mind, like especially when it comes to like a huge budgets or maybe like a period kind of a films where it involves a lot of artwork and a lot of budget, etc. And you really don't just go on like you have something in your head, but you need to collab, you need to tell that to so many of your technicians. And when I think of like maybe like you have a chariot and there's a tree and something, like maybe you're trying to explain some period concept to somebody, and you have your own visual. Your director has its own visual, but the technician might not feel the same. Might not get the same visual as say. So that's when the film illustrator or like say the concept artist comes in. Basically, we call them the concept artist base in the industry. So that's where I come in, and I basically turn all his verbal information into an image. To simply put it, it's basically words converted into an image. So he would give me the same whatever description. I would do a small thumbnail sketch and all. From there, yeah, we'll slowly start building what he's trying to imagine in his mind. And yeah, now we have a visual. So every technician is basically not talking from their brain; they're talking from the image that's there on the paper, right? So yeah, something like that.
Each person has a different perception of things. Like, when you say the director gave you an image, like, he told you that a chariot, you told a chariot, right?
Yeah.
So you might have a different perception of it.
Yeah.
So how many times will it take for the director to approve
It will take definitely like a lot bit of iterations to like, but yeah, like see everything starts from the script, right? It's not like if at all if you're doing something for so not like illustration is not like the first step of any process. Let's say like if you're ideating something, you're writing it down.
Right.
Maybe I draw it down because I can draw that better. That's my medium to draw. Because if I'm thinking something in my head, I can directly draw it and show it to you. But when the director is thinking something, it's basically there's some thought process. There are maybe to put it simply, in a film space, you already have a script. So you already have a written information for it. So when you're talking about like let's say chariot or something, the story is already it's set up in 18th century or something like that. 18th century, this is where we are, this is the time period, this is the era. So a lot of keywords, a lot of things have already been set. It's not like when you're talking about chariot, you're just directly talking about chariot in general. You're talking about an 18th century chariot in this particular era of South India or North India, this particular empire or something maybe. So there are so many specific already added to it. But even after that, you definitely come up with a lot of sketches. There will be changes. You again go back, you do the same thing. So yeah, that's you get to do a lot of changes, especially in the film industry. But editorial is different. Editorial has always have a time constraint to it, so you don't have that much of time to always go for the different iterations.
So when you say 18th century chariot or a visual from 18th century, a lot of detailing goes into it.
Yeah.
So how long does it take for you to complete that?
It depends. Like basically, it all depends on how detailed the director is looking at. Like different kinds of films, where we do a lot of period films as well in Telugu film industry or outside. But not every director is so keen in the details. What kind of a wooden carving that might the chariot might have, what kind of a detailing, what kind of a motifs it can have. Nobody would ask, like very few people would ask for those kind of details, and that's where the fun part is. Right. So the more the details, the more the work, obviously. But it depends, like just to generate like a very basic rough thumbnail sketch, we can do it in like a half an hour, like maybe in like 15, 10 minutes also. Right. Just as he goes on explaining, I can maybe keep drawing the details and etc. But to come to a scale drawing would definitely take some good research and all that. Yeah, maybe I can't just say like maybe 1 day or 2 days for it, but it depends basically.
I'm sure it must be challenging.
It is challenging for sure, but yeah, that's the fun part too.
So, if I may ask, what's the difference between your role and that of a concept artist, a storyboard artist, or a production designer?
Production designer is entirely different.
Okay.
So concept artist and storyboard artist, maybe you can put that both of them into one umbrella, I'd say. Okay. But production designer is somebody who is he's responsible for the entire visual, identity of the film, right from the costumes. He have a say in the costumes as well. He have a say in how the cinematography is happening, what kind of colors. It's basically whatever that you see in the final visual of the film, like the final visual, whatever that you see on the screen. So production designer is very much responsible for what's happening. So production designer is responsible for his own job. Also, he'll have a little say on how the costumes are, how the color scheme is. I mean, that's like a very bigger space that he's working with. But when it comes to concept art or the storyboard artist, concept art is something more like, say, again, going back to the same example, let's say we're talking about a war film. From 18th century or 17th century. So to imagine to visualize of the 17th century or 18th century world, concept art is something that you need to do it first, even before you get into the storyboard. Because storyboard is more specific. It's something more aligned with the script part. But when it comes to concept art, is like a bigger visual, trying to do a master sketch of how maybe that particular village is going to look like. Right. Or maybe how that war sequence, how that kingdom going to look like. But when it comes to storyboard is very something similar to what you're finally seeing it on the screen. But concept art, you might not see it on the screen. Whatever the concept art sketch that I would do, you might or you might not see it in the film. It's like a very bigger picture of how the entire world going to look like. Right. But storyboard is something like it's almost like a sketch, kind of a sketchy part of the same film. Like if you're the mid shot, long shot, it's a very much film terminology is included in it, and whatever that you draw for the storyboard goes on to the final film. So something like that.
Right. And can you walk us through the process of a film illustrator? What exactly happens, how it starts, and how does it evolve?
It basically starts with the script, obviously. Maybe the first meeting with the director would only have a synopsis sorts. He'll tell us, this is the world that we're trying to build, this is what we have, and this is the challenge where there are a couple of sequences, there are a couple of scenes which it is a bit difficult for us to visualize. I have something in my head, but I don't know how to communicate with the technician or something. We want one single visual so that everybody's talking about that one particular thing. So if I'm thinking something, he's also thinking something else. We don't want that. We want one visual where everybody's saying, okay, that is the one that we're talking about. So that's where exactly the conversation starts. Then I get to read the script. Sometimes they would narrate the entire story to me. Sometimes they would just hand out the script. Sometimes they would just they would never tell me, sometimes they would never tell me a script or what's happening in the film. They just want me to do my job only give you a very limited information to me, because of, the script can easily go out, there is that kind of an issue to it. So it starts like that. I do a very basic thumbnail sketches based upon his what are the brief that he's going to give me. So from there, yeah, like a number of more and more sketches, thumbnails, we keep doing it, and we'll get some changes until we arrive to a particular sketch where let's say, okay, yeah, this is something very close to what I'm visualizing, and from there we start building it.
Right. So when you work on a movie, does the director give you all the instructions, or do you have creative freedom as well?
We do have the creative freedom, but it depends again. Depends from director to director. Few of them are very, very particular, very, very pinpointed in terms of what they want, what is the exact visual that is that they have in their head. Sometimes it is very vague in their head too, where you get to pull in your expertise into it, where you can give your own, like suggestions, or maybe where you have the basically freedom to just play around with his idea as well. But few of them are very particular about, no, that is not what I want. I exactly want this. So you just deliver it. They're happy with it. Sometimes, most of the times, it is very like a vague in their head too. So it is something, especially in the industry that I work is, it is not like they already have an idea and you bring out the sketch and they are sorted. You do something, and it is always an evolving process. Based on the sketch, they'll start ideating more, and I'll give a more detailed sketch, they'll ideate even more. So there's always a evolving that's happening based on the sketch. It's not like the idea is entirely formed, and now you just do the sketch. It's not like that. You do something, it's gonna evolve every time, and you take back to them.
Everything is digital right now.
Yeah.
So do you still use traditional tools?
We do. Definitely the comfort of a paper and pencil, nothing going to replace it for sure. Of course, it is digital. As like to simply put it, like maybe a couple of years back, I used to carry my sketchbook in my bag wherever I go. I still do, but even for a very little small sketch, I'm still depending on iPad at this moment of time. But maybe like a couple of years back, it wasn't that much. I'm always like a bit, introspecting that part of me, like why am I always jumping to the iPad? Why am I not just sketching it on a paper and pencil like I used to do? But definitely, I mean, it is still there. The manual part is still there. But yeah, even I'm like, once in a while, I need to just check myself, why am I doing a lot of digital work? Why can't I just go back to paper and pencil, do something, sketch it out? Yeah.
So with AI coming in, it can do all your work.
Yeah.
You give it a command and it will draw for you.
Yeah.
So what's the risk for you?
I think that's definitely, we're definitely an interesting space in terms of with the AI coming up and they say that it's taking your jobs and all. And I have so many directors and so many technicians who would say, I can do whatever that you're doing, maybe with a small prompt or something like that. I would say it's not like, it definitely can't do your job totally, because especially in the film illustrating space, or in any illustrating space for that matter, the specifics are important here, first of all. So like I told you, it's not about some chariot. It's about that particular chariot with whatever the detailing that it has, and it's of which time period, and there are so many, like small nuances of it, which is why we make a film, which is why we make something, some art basically, because it has some details to it, it has some human touch to it. But when it comes to generating some quick ideas, I have something in my head, even before bringing some concept artist on board, now the director has this comfort of generating few images for himself and see whether this is working or not working for me. That is definitely there. But I mean, definitely still can't do the entire job for us. It's a good tool to use for sure. You can't deny it. Like you can't say, no, I don't want to use AI, or you can't say, it's of no use and all. But it definitely lacks a human touch to it. And with more AI and everything growing, you can easily spot if it is done by an AI or a human. And I'm pretty sure we're always going to go back to the roots and say, okay, I want something to be hand-drawn. Not even digital. I think we're pretty sure we'll go back to the hand-drawn space where everybody would be crazy about, if that's hand-drawn, I want it. That the market for the hand-drawn thing or something of traditional human touch gonna increase. Maybe we are in the fad, like we want everything is AI. Maybe in 5 to 6 years we'll go back to everything. I want everything to be like that. Human touch needs to be there.
Are there directors who prefer AI in general or prefer drawings?
They do. There are a lot of, especially in a competitive space like film, where you want the ideas to be generated like this in a click. It's like obviously something. If your job is done by a machine and it can generate something which is, I can't say superior or of great quality, but if it's generating something really fast. Because when a director tells me a particular idea or something, I would take maybe a day or two to even just to sink that particular concept into my head, and then maybe I start sketching or something like that. But with AI, basically, you get to see options in like what seconds. So obviously, directors are more inclined towards it. Not even directors, anybody who is any client who wants some illustrative work or some artwork to be done, they would, before going to even going to an artist, they would definitely at least they would try some prompt or something and would have something in their head. So yeah, that's always there. I think you can't like really challenge it. But yeah.
Is there any particular work of yours because of which a whole scene has shifted or changed?
I think it happens a lot. It's not just about me as a concept artist adding something and suddenly changes everything. It's as simple as you sketch something and you think that's a very bad idea, but you still sketch it like a small scribble or something, and director might look at it and like say, oh, I think this particular sketch is more interesting. It's something. It's also like you might feel this is not like a great idea to pitch in to the director, and you just scrape it off. But sometimes there are instances when you get to see that sketch, the director or somebody from the department get to see it. Oh, this is also a great idea. Why can't we try this? So suddenly the focus or maybe like the direction is also a bit changed, and obviously, and all the technicians will make sure it is changed for the good. But yeah, it happens a lot, and it's like a day-to-day thing. It's not like suddenly only because of my sketch everything turned into something beautiful or something like that. Because there's so many departments involved, it's a team job and all. Yeah, it might be initiated, might be triggered from the small sketch that I did, but whatever, like the final execution, there are so many departments involved and all. So yeah, and you can't even nearly pinpoint, oh, because of that particular sketch everything changed sorts. It's never going to happen like that.
So, how many sketches do you have to present to the director?
Maybe I don't know. Maybe not about it's definitely not about the number. Sometimes you just go with what the first idea, and it is locked like bang. Sometimes you keep on sketching, and he might or he might not like it. But there's definitely no specific number to it. It all depends on like how clear the vision is of the director, and yeah, that's it. Maybe the first option also clicks sometimes. Maybe the 10th or 11th option might also not click sometimes. So it is definitely not in the number. Maybe the highest that I've done is definitely more to 15 to 30 or something. Yeah, a lot of iterations for sure.
As an illustrator, when you present your idea to the director and when he doesn't approve it,
Yeah.
how disappointing is it, and what's the motivation for you to again go back and start sketching?
I think it's not, I mean, I can't afford that, first of all. I can't afford being disappointed with my sketch or like, oh, why didn't he like it? Maybe in my initial days of my career, I was a bit, when you just graduated from the school and from college and all, and somebody says, okay, this is not a great sketch, maybe you should do something better. It definitely feels a bit, a bit disappointing, a bit demotivating, because till then everybody is saying like, oh, you're a great artist and all that, and suddenly you put out your sketch into a proper market space where everything would be criticized, and it definitely feels a bit a bit demotivated sorts in the beginning, but not really, because I have so many, my sketches got so many critical this thing to it. There are so many times your directors reject your sketches too, and it's nothing there. It's nothing personal, and I strongly believe you shouldn't love your own design. First of all, you shouldn't be loving whatever that you're not whatever doing. You shouldn't be falling in love with your own design. You can't be critical about it. At the end of the day, it needs to solve a certain purpose. It's all about problem solving. At the end of the day, if that particular sketch is not solving the problem, if that particular design is not solving the problem, then yeah, no point in doing it, right? So yeah, you feel a bit. You sometimes you like a particular sketch, you like a particular idea, but the director is not buying it, or maybe your client is not buying it. Then yeah, you feel a bit, oh, he must have gone for this particular sketch. This is a better option than that. He would never understand. You have that kind of a, like a bit dilemma, or like I'll try to pitch this idea. This is more interesting than that. We'll do all that, but at the end of the day, that's his call. If it is not working for him, it's not working.
And when the director pitches in the script or the scene, do you create mood boards for it? And
we do. Mood boards is almost like the first step of whatever that we're doing. We'd be picking we'd create an open board where you'd pull all the images that you can, create a rough reference sorts of a board to it, bring in all the colors or different kind of a vibe to it, and maybe you pitch it back to the director, say, look, this is roughly the vibe that you're thinking, I guess. He might eliminate few of them, he might add few of them, and yeah, from there, it's like the first step. It's almost like yeah, we do it a lot.
Right.
Go to something.
What are the challenges you face as a film illustrator?
Quite a lot. It's hard to put it into one single this thing. These are the challenges. Most of it, I think, the major challenge would be to understand what's running in your client's head, because not everybody is good at articulating what they're thinking. It is very difficult for few of them to put it into words, right? So you need to sometimes they're super clear about whatever that they're talking about. So it makes your job easy. So that would be a very great challenge of understanding what he's thinking. Do some sketches, extra sketches. Oh, this is what you're thinking. Maybe this, maybe this, maybe this. So you present him a 10 different options and say, oh yeah, maybe that is something close to what. So the main challenging part is to get in tune with whatever that he's thinking or she's thinking, and yeah, from there it would be a bit. It has its own challenges after in the process itself, but the major challenge I would say is to understand what he's thinking, what your client wants. Maybe that's the biggest challenge I would say.
So when I say sketching,
Yeah.
does rendering also come into picture with this?
Rendering is nothing but like a more detailed version of a sketch, that's it. So yeah, obviously, but when any very initial phases of it, it is just a very scribble sorts of a drawings that we do, because the idea needs to be communicated fast, and we want like like the editor is telling you a rough sequence or rough scene, you sketch it right there and show it to him once. Maybe if it is not worth rendering, you won't render it. Maybe he'd like it. Okay, I like the rough sketch of it, but I want it to be more detailed, more rendered, like properly sketched out or shaded out. Maybe then you'll start doing a bit more good job on it, or else you just scrape it off at the sketch phase only.
So when I used to sketch my jewelry, like
Yeah.
earrings, for example, they would say, okay, make sure the sunlight is falling from certain angle. So you sketch it according to that, like
Yeah,
darker in the beginning and then
Yeah.
you lighten it. So how does that work? Do they tell, okay, the light is falling from here? So you sketch it a certain way.
Again, when we were talking about mostly the scene building or the world building or sorts, you get to see, like when you read a script, you roughly have an idea of what kind of a world that we're trying to build in, first of all. If you're talking about like maybe South Indian space, maybe we are talking about some very dense jungle or something like that. So it is already set up. The setup is already given to you. It is a dense jungle. The scene is happening in a dense jungle, and it's from maybe from the 1980s or something, and you roughly have a world already created for you. So you also have, whether it's happening in a daytime or it's on a night time or afternoon time, whatever, you already have this kind of information around you. So it is much easier for you to arrive to those little things. But definitely for the cinematic purposes and all, if they're very particular, if they have a certain visual in their head, they would always tell you like, this is the kind of lighting that I'm looking at. Maybe this is the mood of the particular scene or the emotion. Then you just go with whatever the lighting that is more suitable for the emotion. Yeah.
So if you're working with a director who can't speak the same language as you, and okay, there's a translator, but he cannot put in the same concept that he's thought of through a translator.
Yeah.
What are the challenges when it comes to those things?
You mean like language as in like the language or the terminology as in?
No, the language. Like he can't speak the same language as you.
It's mostly, I mean, everybody can communicate in English at this moment of time. So I think that wouldn't be that is not like a huge challenge which I ever faced as in. I worked with directors from Tamil and a few of the directors from Malayalam as well, and not Kannada, Telugu. So I worked with a bunch of and few of them from Hindi, obviously, but everybody can speak a bit of English, of course. So yeah, there is no particular like a problem as such in terms of the language, at least till this moment. Yeah.
So when we watch a movie, we just watch for the visuals and the story. So when you as an illustrator watch a movie, are there certain things that only an illustrator would notice?
Not really, for sure, because but maybe you can tell this. You can tell maybe this particular film has a solid pre-production work done, or a solid concept artwork has been already done for this film or not. Maybe that much you can say, but you can definitely you can't pinpoint key. Only illustrator would notice it. Only a concept artist would notice it. I think that is not possible for sure. But maybe you can say because of the kind of research work, few films lack that kind of research work or that kind of, the world building. It's all over the place sometimes. Few films look like that. It feels like a jump from one era to another era. So that's basically why the problem is basically there is no proper solid pre-production work, or there is no solid visual reference for it. There is no solid concept art work done for it. So you can always find out, oh, this the mistake, but you can't find out if it's a good job done, then you can definitely not find out. But if it is a bad job done, you can easily point out, okay, this film lacks a world building because maybe they haven't worked with the concept artist, maybe they haven't done that kind of a concept artwork for it. So that's the reason why it feels like a jump from one scene to the other scene. This particular scene feels like a different era. This particular scene feels from a different era. The color is different. Everything is different. So yeah, bad job is much easier to spot. Good job, I think that's the whole point of the good job. You shouldn't be spotting it. It's very seamless. Yeah.
Is it easier for you to sketch out something with color, or if they say black and white, which is easier?
Definitely, the color part is basically would bring a lot of emotion to the scene. But practically speaking, when you're just figuring out the sketch phases of it, where you're still figuring out, oh, this is roughly what I want, where you're still, understanding what's happening in what he's trying to convey and all. We don't have the time to color everything and see whether it is working or not. So obviously, let's say the first 5 to 10 would be only black and white sketches. Only after we lock down on something, okay, this particular sketch has that potential to be converted into color or needs to be rendered into color and all. Okay, this particular sketch has that time. We can put the time on this particular sketch or this idea. Only then they will get into the color part. But once the color is brought into the the play, then yeah, a lot of times, you get to decide that idea, or you might get to observe the scrape of that idea also sometimes.
Do you have junior artists working under you?
Yeah, we have a bunch of, even we recently properly started set up like a studio kind of a setup. There are a bunch of illustrators who are working with me, and a few concept artists and 3D artists and all that. So yeah, that's there.
How difficult is it for you to explain them the concept once the director explains it?
It all depends on how good or how bad the artist is. It gets a bit difficult sometimes because sometimes even I don't have the right clarity what the director told me sometimes. Yeah. Director would tell me something very vaguely of maybe something like this, maybe like 18th century, 17th century, this war period, roughly like that. So even I have a little brief about the project, and when I needs to communicate it to my junior artists or my fellow artists, it becomes challenging. That's exactly why we do 10 different sketches and see what is working. Right. You just can't say this is exactly what I'm looking at and just go do it for me. And the artists who basically come into the industry, or the guys basically who are working with me, even they're pretty this is how basically the film industry works. Like, it's not like okay, this is exactly what I want, would never happen. Maybe somewhere in this particular in this radius I'm talking about, just give me something, and maybe from there we start ideating it. So there's no pinpoint, oh, this is exactly the brief that the director gave me, and this is exactly what I want. I tell something maybe this is the ballpark stuff, just give me something from there.
Can you tell us one director or one film that you loved working on, or really you were excited and you enjoyed working
Obviously, my first film, I was very excited. Mahanati was the first concept art.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah, yes. Thanks. So, yeah, Mahanati was like a great start. That's a really, very fortunate to start with that film, to be honest. That was a great experience. One, that was my first job as a concept artist. Even I was figuring out what I was supposed to do and all. Right. So that's definitely interesting. The first film, you get to learn a lot of stuff. Yeah. You don't know the world of film. You got suddenly introduced to something, a lot of magic is happening. So many so many arts are basically, so many, these things are coming together. So many art forms are coming together. You're always thrilled by it. That's definitely take the first place. But whatever that I'm currently working on the project, even that has this is also very challenging, very interesting, very great film to work on. But yeah, I think it's definitely the first film that takes the place, I guess.
After you've completed your sketches and presented it, and they've changed the script, so has it completely changed your illustration, or did you somehow manage to, modify that?
Changing the entire script,
Not the entire script,
maybe a particular scene.
particular,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that would happen for sure. Sometimes it feels like is it the same film or not also,
Yeah.
but that happens very rarely. I'd say like all the all the directors or all that the team that I worked with, they're very professional in whatever that they do. So somewhere in the midway, changing the entire thing would mostly won't happen, but there will be a lot of changes in terms of how they are perceiving it. Suddenly you give a sketch to them, or suddenly few technical aspects are changed, and you might have to change the script part. You might have to change how the scene is basically playing out, and how everybody is perceiving it is slightly changed or changed like drastically. And obviously you're doing something absolutely different. Maybe you're thinking of that one particular sequence that you wanted to do, but suddenly the sequence is not even there in the film. Then yeah, you definitely you whatever the work that you've been done for like months or something like that, you put everything aside and start working something absolutely on something new. So yeah, that happens. But yeah, it happens very rarely, and it happens for good, I guess, because at the end of the day, how the film gonna play out is more important. Yeah.
What does it take to become a film illustrator?
I don't know. Maybe a lot of patience, I'd say. A lot of patience, not even for the film illustrator or the concept artist. Even to get into something like arts, and where you get to deal with a lot of your clients, where most of them doesn't have an art background, or most of them doesn't might not understand your terminology, or you might not understand their terminology. So you need to hang out in that space. You need to have a lot of patience there, uh, thinking okay, I think I'm on the right track, and I'll get to do something very meaningful at some point of time. So maybe I think it's first of all it's the patience, and the second thing, never ever fall in love with your own design, so that it will be difficult for you to scrape off your own sketch, because that's what happens in a like a very practical space. That's what happens in a day-to-day thing. So yeah.
For example, you've created a sketch for one particular film and they don't approve it, you make another sketch and give it to them.
Yeah.
But there's another script, a completely different movie with different director. They have a similar script. Would you present the same sketch to them, use that?
No,
Or?
that really can't do. I'd say, and very practically speaking, maybe if two different teams are working on something similar script, I think they'll get to know about each other. Okay, even this particular film and this film are something very close to. So sometimes they would absolutely call off a film, or sometimes they might need to change a few very important parts of the film so it doesn't look like the same film and all.
Yeah.
But coming to the sketch part, I don't think we'd present the same sketch to a different film or something like that. Maybe, but even we'll tell that, because it happened to me maybe once, I guess. Two different teams pitched me almost all the same story, and I was called for both the films. So I've told the second film, I think even those guys are working on something very similar. You guys have a chat once. I'm really not sure whether you'd be going forward with it or not. So that happens, but presenting the same sketch, I really don't know. Yeah, that I think we would never do that.
So how difficult is it to be emotionally creative in a logical world?
That's a good question. It is very important to be emotionally involved in a particular project, but it's also at the end of the day, whatever the craft that we're dealing with, it's an emotional craft. It's the audience would connect to it in an emotional space, not like what kind of a lens that you're using, like what kind of a color scheme, all this would definitely help you to tell the story, to convey that emotion. But the technical aspects or the logical aspects of it would only it's only like somewhere playing around it. It's not the main, it's not the main hero of whatever that you're doing. The main hero is always the emotion part, right? So I think definitely 70 to 80% is what you're thinking from inside, and whatever that you feel about that particular scene, and that's what you sketch and do. But since my particular job is also about, it's not like I draw anything, I can draw anything, but there are so many limitations in building it.
Right.
So you just can't always say, no, this is the greatest sketch that I can do, so just go and build it. It would never happen. There are so many logistic aspects to it, so much of practical aspects to it. So there's always that anyway come into the play. So, but when you start your work, you don't put that in the forefront and start working. You always put the emotion, or what do you feel about the project, or what do you feel about that particular scene, and you start doing it. The technical aspect of it will anyway come, because it's not like we are not doing an animated film. You just sketch anything and you can play out everything. Since you're dealing with like a real-time feature films, everything that you draw needs to be executed at some point of time practically. If I'm doing like a huge bungalow or a huge palace, that needs to be built. It's not like I'm doing a great sketch and it is done. So the logical aspect or the logistic aspect is never gonna, anyway gonna come into the picture. So yeah, it's a mixture of both of the things, I guess.
So now when a director narrates that particular scene to you, if you think it doesn't make sense, do you have that freedom to tell the director that, okay, maybe this might not work?
Depends, I guess. Like most of the times, I've listened to a lot of absolutely not stupid, but nothing like
Meaningless.
A lot of meaningless scripts, a lot of meaningless character descriptions. Sometimes offensive at times. You would never get to say it in their faces for sure. Maybe the only thing that you can do is, maybe I'm not interested in the project. You would say, maybe I don't have the bandwidth to take it. If you can't resonate with it, you definitely can't do a good job with it. That's what I believe. That's what it happens, right? So you definitely can't say it on their face, like maybe that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. You can't say that, but you just say, oh, maybe I'm not really sure. I think you just maybe slightly escape from it, because very few people, very few directors or producers for that matter, can take that criticism, because at the end of the day, you've been called to translate whatever the idea that they have, translate to the idea into a sketch or into a visual format. So first thing, they're not even asking your opinion there. You're not in a place to put out your opinion in terms of the idea itself. You're only there to convert that idea into an image. So very few people would ask and very few people would bother about your opinion about it. But if you don't like it in general, because you feel, okay, that's something I can't work on it, you always have the option to walk out of it. That's anyway there. Yeah.
For aspiring film illustrator, how important is formal education versus self-learning?
Not really, I'd say. I have a formal education in arts, but I'd still say it's definitely not mandatory. It's like you getting into film school and learning about direction, and somebody gets to make a film without even having like absolutely no knowledge about film. We have so many examples where the one without no formal education have done a tremendous job with the first film itself. Same thing applies for art, or same thing applies for any of the art forms, I'd say. Definitely there would be, you have a little bit of, I can't say leverage, you're a bit informed about the particular craft or the art form, but is it really mandatory? Not really. It's all in how you pick it up. There are so many sources that you can learn that stuff from. Getting a formal education is really not a necessary, but being motivated on a daily basis is definitely there. People who get the formal education also lose an interest after a point of time. The first year you start learning something, design or something. By the second or third year, you're already lose interest over it. So that's what the point of doing a formal education. And somebody who with no formal education is so motivated for years and years, obviously he'll get to learn, or she'll get to learn a lot about it than who got a formal education, right? So it has nothing to do with education.
So a lot of aspiring film illustrators create portfolios.
Yeah.
Right? So what is that one thing they should do in their portfolios for them to get the attention of the directors?
I think it's in basically, maybe to start with, it's always like they say in design, while you're starting the fourth year projects, or basically when you get to do your internships and all that space, I'm talking about the formal, if you're learning it in a formal space, the one thing that you'd ask to do is basically redesign something which is already there, right? In the same way, if you want to be a film illustrator or a poster designer or maybe a concept artist, redesign the same thing. Redesign whatever, like imagine that Star Wars, you have a Star Wars ship or something like that. redesign it, give it your own touch, put it out, and a few people might like it, few people might not like it, few people might find it interesting. Do some crossovers, just basically play with whatever the existing films that is already out there, something popular content which is already out there, and do your own touch to give your own touch to it. Do it in your own version. Maybe you like a particular idea, you like a particular poster of an old film or something. Do a like a revised version of it, add something else to it, your own touch to it, and you put it out. Sometimes people will really like it, and there are so many people out there already in the market or in Instagrams or in social media. They do their own versions of so many things. You have the fan art, you have the fan cut of a trailer and all that. That's basically something like trying to put out the work. Oh, that's not a great. This is not how you cut a trailer. I'll show you how you cut a trailer. That's how you always get some attention towards your work, which people are already doing it. There are so many independent artists who got that limelight just because they've done some fan posters or done some fan edit or something like that, and the film director or somebody from the team would call them to do it for the real film and all that. So yeah, I think that's one really good way to start. If in the film space, you always work on something which is already there and give your own touch to it, and you keep on putting it out. Then yeah, sometime you'll definitely get your eyes, get the right eyes on your work, and yeah, from there, it's all in how you basically deal from there makes a difference.
Right. So, how has technology changed your work over the years?
I think I was while I was studying art properly, the pen tablets or let's say the digital transformation was there, but we're still trying to jump from a traditional methods to more digital methods and all that. So people who haven't converted their work or learned that how you apply the same method or apply the same whatever that you've learned into a digital space, they might get a bit, they'll definitely get a bit outdated with whatever that they've been doing. In terms of the work, it definitely got much easier, I'd say. I always tell especially people have this habit of asking what brush that you use. You put out some sketch or something outside, the first question that they ask is what is the pen that they've used, what is the brush that you have used. So it's definitely not in the technical aspect. What brush I have used is nothing to do with whatever that I've created. It's just a tool at the end of the day. The good thing about, I don't know whether it's a good or bad thing, but the thing about digital space is even if you have like a 50% thing, the rest of the 50% is always enhanced by the digital thing. You just need to know what particular brush you need to use to get a particular effect, even if you don't know how to draw that particular stroke or something. If you pick up the right brush, that particular brush would do the job for you. So that's the reason why you have so many digital artists. They're really good digitally, but they're very bad. I can't say bad, but they're not so great when you see the sketchbook, when they are doing something on a traditional space. Because digital is basically made it for you, you just enhance your work. Even if you're like 20 or 30% sure of that line, it will get a proper curved line. Even if you can't draw a proper curved line, the digital would make it a curved line for you. So it is definitely made the job easier in terms of in a practical space, in a working space. But you should never tell yourself, because looking at your digital drawings, and say that I'm a great artist, because you should always compare yourself with your traditional methods, I'd say, because it's a machine. At the end of the day, machine is amplifying your work somewhere. So I feel always go back to the sketchbook and look at your sketchbook, 2 years sketchbook and today's sketchbook. Do you have an improvement? Maybe, yeah, that is the way to compare. It's not definitely the digital work. At least that's how I judge myself. If I'm improving in my manual work, then I'm really improving it. Digital, at the end of the day, after an extent, it is just a tool. So yeah, tool is a tool. It's all in the hands, I'd say.
So back in the day, it was just one pencil.
Yeah.
Now there are different shades of pencil. For darker, you have like one particular pencil, like 2H or
Yeah.
So do you prefer using those different pencils or just go with one pencil?
I think everybody has their own comfortable brush or comfortable pencil or comfortable tool that they work with. So everybody has this favorite thing to it. But yeah, we do a few people who are very particular about how that shade gonna come. I'm not that kind of a person for sure. I prefer to use only one maybe one pencil, which basically applies to do the lighter shade, maybe to do the darker shade also. I'm not the person where I carry like a lot of like tons of pencils, and maybe for that particular shade take out that pencil and do a little light shade, and for the darker shade take one more pencil, and I feel that is too tiring. So just take one pencil that works for all. Yeah.
What's that one misconception people have about film illustrators?
That your job gets done with one single click. I think, I don't know, like maybe people, I should say people or clients or directors or a lot of people think that, and again the AI, when with the AI and the whole thing is coming, they very few people get to know that a lot of ideation goes into it, a lot of ideas which I generally scrape off in my head itself. Few of them come on the paper, but I would never show it to you because I feel they're not that great. So a lot of things happen. The greatest misconception would be thinking that, okay, this is a very easy job with that everything is happening digitally. Nobody is like taking out their pen and paper and drawing something. So they tend to think, okay, this is like why there's a lot of fuss about it. It's just, I mean, you can do it in a single day or you can do it in a half day or something like that. That's not the deal. You need to do a lot of research work. Even after you give a creative brief, etc., etc., I need to do my own research work. I need to create my own mood boards, etc., etc. So it will take a good amount of time, but yeah, I think people want everything to be done like the end of the day. So yeah.
What's that one advice you would give to the young aspiring film illustrators?
I don't know. Maybe not film illustrators. Let's say anybody in general, anybody who's getting into art and illustration, or trying to find their feet in it. I think one thing that I would tell them is again patience. A lot of patience you need to know, and it is not just the skill part. It's not just whether you can draw a great artwork. Of course, skill set is the main integral part of your whole job, but that's not the whole thing. And never ever constrain yourself to, oh, I can do a really good oil painting, or I can do a really good watercolor work. Because now with the AI and everything coming up, that's not a skill anymore. I'm not taking away anything away from the people who do a lot of really amazing oil painting or a watercolor work, any particular medium I'm saying. But when you're trying to fit yourself into a client space, in a working space where you're doing something for, like financially you're getting something in return for it, and some machine or something else is doing it in a click. So you just can't tell an oil painting, I'll do a realistic portrait, I'll do a realistic oil painting, I'll do a realistic watercolor. Can't be your only skill set. I'm not saying that it is not even a skill set. I'm just saying that can't be your only skill set. You need to articulate your own stuff. You need to visualize what you're saying, what you're trying to do. Because if you're not good with the visualization, you would be never welcomed into that room where the ideas are happening. You're always asked to stay out of that room. All the ideas happening in that room, they come back and tell you, this is the idea that you finalized, just go and sketch it for us. Then you'll only become a sketch artist. But when you start visualizing something, when you start adding some valuable content onto the table, and where you will be a very, a good resource in that conversation, you contribute something to it, only then you'll be, called into that room. So no sketching, only just good pencil shading or I'll do a really good oil painting work. That's not the deal. I think with the changing times, you need to up your visualization game a lot. You need to think something of your own, which is very original. With the AI evolving, of course, whatever that you're doing, it definitely needs to be very original. Try to be as original as possible. So it's not just in the skill set of drawing something, painting something, but what's there in your head makes a lot of difference. For that, read a lot, draw a lot. There are so many things that it's not just about the drawing part.
Right. Also, when it comes to sketching, there's certain measurements that you need to work on, and you need a lot of math there.
Yeah.
What about people who are just good at sketching but not good with the other part?
That's exactly what happens. Like, see, sketch is basically something like a skill set that you have, and when it comes to visualization, is on the other hand. I've met so many of my friends, my students, or like the people that I work with. somebody who are like really good with whatever that they do in terms of the sketch part. They can draw anything, but they can't visualize it. So only with the reference they can draw. But if I ask something to visualize something of that particular space or visualize something of your own, don't go for any reference. Just don't Google it. Just draw something absolutely out of your mind. That's exactly where it becomes frustrating. In terms like if you're really good visualization and you don't have the skill set to draw, you're disappointed. And you're really good with the skill set and you lack the visualization, you're disappointed again. So I think sketch and the visualization should always go hand in hand, or else you'll always be you can think of a lot of stuff, but you can't put it on paper. That's so frustrating. And again, you can, I mean, you can draw a lot, but you can't think of something very original. Even that is frustrating. So yeah, it needs to be hand in hand. It's like a proper balance that you need to maintain. You should be really good with whatever that you're thinking, what is your ideas are, and you should be really good to communicate them as well, like to put it out on a paper and tell, okay, this is what I'm thinking.
Right.
So yeah.
So what's next for Mr. Anish Penty?
I don't know, like maybe currently we have recently started a studio. There we are trying to focus more on something art and animation space. Right. We're trying to build some films which are of like a 2-minute, 3-minute kind of a length in absolutely an animation where we have a proper control over it. Trying to tell some stories, some very quick ones, maybe not like a half an hour, 1 hour kind of a films, maybe like a 1-minute, 2-minute kind of a content. With the concentration span declining, everybody is like just in the scrolling mode. So trying to tell a very meaningful story, maybe in a 2 minutes of 3 minutes of span. So that is exactly what we are working on right now. Something called 90 ml, where any film or any idea that you basically have, trying to tell that under 90 seconds with the help of art and animation, with design, everything. So yeah, we're looking forward to build more stories of our own. Nothing to do with the films that I'm working out. It's something very internal studio project sorts of thing, something more like a dream project that we're working on. So trying to tell a very limited small stories and maybe launch like a bunch of stories as one volume or edition, something like that. Yeah.
If young aspiring illustrators are looking forward to learn from you, how can they reach out to you?
We're basically starting out a school in a very quick time, maybe in a couple of months, for some design students who are very interested in design and want to get into design colleges and all that. So yeah, maybe in 2 to 3 months, just follow the page and all, you get to know. We're starting a small design school and all for people who want to get into design. Right. So yeah, we already thought of it because we also need people who are consistently learning something, who come up with the fresh ideas and all. Just empower them with the right skills and etc. How the industry works and everything.
What are some of the exciting projects you're working on?
Currently, like I told you, like one 18th century project that we're working on. Right. That's something really interesting, and we're also working on something I can't definitely tell the more details about it because it's not out yet. One from a period film from the 18th century, and there is one more film which is from the present time, but it has a good mystery touch to it. A bit of mythology is there, a bit of mystery is there, a bit of horror suspense kind of stuff is there. So yeah, these two are the major ones that I'm working on. There are other projects that we are working for ourselves in the studio space, which you can get to see maybe like in a quick time. Yeah.
We wish you good luck for that.
Thank you.
I do have some rapid fire questions for you.
Yes, sir. Sure.
A film you wish you had worked on?
Kalki, I'd say.
Yes.
Because I got the opportunity, but we had a very initial discussion with Nagi, but I couldn't, I was in a certain space at that moment of time in my life. I couldn't prioritize it. Right. And I just, I maybe after like a couple of years, I thought like maybe I would have worked on it. That would have been a really good experience with the kind of world building that you got to do and all that. Yeah, I feel that I missed that opportunity.
Favorite director to work with?
I can't say really right at this moment of time, but Nagi was great, and currently I'm working with Rahul Sankrityan. He's also great. And Anish Kuruvilla. So many directors, I think, yeah, just to name a few, yeah.
Right. Most fun project you've ever done?
I can't say fun, but it's one interesting project that we have done for Pranav. It's called Occupied. You must have heard about it. Occupied is like a documentary. It's done
Yes.
on a Palestinian this thing.
Yes.
So I get to do some really meaningful stuff there. Very like a in a very commercial Telugu film driven kind of a space. These are kind of a film where you get to do some meaningful stuff. So I'd say it's a very interesting and a meaningful project that I've done. Fun, yeah, definitely fun. It was in the very initial days of my career.
Traditional or digital illustration?
Traditional for sure. Then,
A film that visually blew your mind.
oh, there are so many films. I can't name one of them.
If you had to name one.
I really like the Frank Miller stuff. All the 300 Sin City, and something like Blade Runner and all that also. Star Wars, obviously. Yeah. Even I was really bought into the world of Game of Thrones as well.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, the world building and all. But visually, I'm like a huge fan of very graphic kind of a stuff. So Frank Miller is the guy for me. Like Sin City is like the kind of something that I would really want to do someday. I want to do something very similar of sorts. Yeah.
A dream project you'd love to work on.
We have something in our mind, like I told you, something in a very graphical space. Definitely not a client project for sure. I have something on my own, a couple of ideas that we have. We wanted to release it as like a bunch of stories, like one single volume. But it would take some time. It's not like something that I can do it in like an overnight or something. It would take a lot of years of this thing to it. So yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to it, and all these are like a stepping stones towards it.
If you weren't an illustrator, what would you be?
I really don't know. Definitely not an engineer. I'm very bad at math. I've tried my medicine thing also. I did my BPC in Inter and all. That really didn't turn out. So talking from a very Indian space, if it is not engineering and a doctor, I don't think nobody gives a damn if you're something else. But yeah, for me personally, before if I was not an illustrator, maybe I would have gone into some armed forces or something like that. That's where I was like very much pulled towards when I was in my schooling and all. But my art teacher is somebody who told me like, why armed forces? Because back then I really don't know you can take your art as a profession. To be really honest, I was into art. I was like learning drawing right from my second, third standard.
Right.
But only till after 10th or 11th, somebody told me that you can get it as a profession.
What's the last thing you sketched?
Something I've sketched just like maybe an hour back. I just gave it to my junior artist to do it. I think we have sketched for a small lyrical video. Okay. So yeah, I think that's the last thing. Yeah.
This has been an eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks a lot for having me.
And we wish you good luck for all your future endeavors.
And good luck for your podcast as well.
Thanks you so much.
Having me.